Namaste and welcome to Future Leaders, produced by today's Youth Asia. In this show, we discuss visionary ideas, talk about innovation, inspire youth leadership, and nurture concerns for a better world. My name is Ashna, and today we have with us Father Dr. K.L. George, Principal of St. Joseph's College in North Point, Darjeeling. He obtained his Ph.D. in Indian Drama and English from Gandhi Rural University and has 22 years of experience as an educator. He's also a counselor and a resource person in All India Catholic University Federation and National Service Scheme. We also have with us Mr. Keshar Khulal, an educationist and physicist in Kathmandu. Mr. Khulal completed his bachelor's in physics from the University of East Anglia, UK, and has been awarded with the Education Day Award in 2003 by the Minister of Education, Nepal. He has also received tributes and letters of appreciation from Stanford University, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and Kathmandu College, USA, for being one of the most influential persons in the lives of some of their students.
Generally, people perceive a student changing their subjects from science to management or humanities as their degradation. What is your view towards this?
I would give you an example from my college. I had a student. She was a science student at class 11 and 12 level. After she completed 1 year in her science stream, she felt that she had to discontinue with her science studies. And surprisingly, she went into interior designing. And today she is very successful. So why not change your tracks if you feel that the subject you are doing at the moment is not going to help you, or you are not very passionate about it.
Especially students of your age, you are not very sure of where your interest lies in. And if you are not sure of what you want to do and what you're really interested in, then the best thing is keep trying. And you shouldn't hesitate to jump from one to another one until you really find your passion. And I see no reason why you shouldn't really feel frustrated or feel that you are inferior because you've been jumping from one subject to another subject. The only thing you've lost is a little bit of time. But ultimately, as George said it, it will pay you very well.
And very often the frustration comes because, from my experience I have seen, it's the parents who decide for their children what their children should be doing. So you may be passionate about one thing in your life, and your parents may think, no, maybe that won't bring enough money. Maybe that won't take you very high up in the society. You know, so they may think something else is good for you, but you know what your heart's passion is. Follow your heart. That's what I would say.
The American education is becoming very popular these days, and the strength of the American education lies in the fact that you can switch from one subject to another subject whenever you wish. And particularly in your undergraduate, they give you so much of freedom and so much of choice that hopefully by the time you complete a first or a second year, you would have found your passion. So changing subjects is not a degradation.
What do you think is the best way to avoid exam fever in the students?
In India, there is an attempt to get rid of these frequent examinations. The one problem I see with the examination system as we have is dependence on memory. Okay? You need to store up a lot in your memory and bring it out in the exam. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't seem to help the students. What is more important is how much you grasp and understand and explain what you have learned. I would personally go for assignments or seminar type where you can come out with your own originality instead of just reproducing what is in the books. Or a little project, for example. Okay, I give you a project of, let's say, finding out from your neighborhood what is the level of literacy. So you go from house to house, find out how many are literate and to what extent each child has gone in the process of education in the school or college. Any method which would bring out your best, your understanding, your creativity, that for me would be an exam, instead of merely reproducing what the teacher or the book have given you in the classroom. So if it becomes more a research, a search for more knowledge or production of new knowledge, I think that would be more exciting than to reproduce what is already there. And less dependency on memory and more emphasis on creativity.
There are two parties involved in any exam. One of them is the examinee and the other one is the examiners. To avoid exam fear, both the parties will have to work together, I believe. From students' point of view, students will have to start preparing for the exam well in time. That's very important, so that they don't really have to burn midnight oil. And the day before the exam, at least they can say, I'm fully prepared, now I can take it. So that self-confidence is important, and to do that they have to start working well in time, and especially doing their homework regularly, doing whatever that they need to do as a good student should be done on time, rather than leaving things till the last minute and then hoping that everything comes in. So that's from the student's part. Now, more than that, the examiner's part is very important. If you want the examinees not to fear the exam, as George said it, the nature of the exam is very important. Rather than having a single written exam 3 hours long, if that could be broken down into other forms of examinations whereby you could assess the student better, more effectively, and yet the student doesn't really feel that they are being examined. He talked about homeworks, he talked about project works, giving them various other assignments which they can enjoy, and at the same time, while they're enjoying it, they're exhibiting their skill, their knowledge as well. So that is something that the examiners can do.
Being authorized in a school, how have you been handling the teens in their and mentally and physically in their teen years? And the students become more undisciplined in this era. So what have you been doing for this?
Talking to them, trying to understand their feelings, trying to see their point of view is what an administrator or a manager can do to solve problems of the teenagers. Putting yourself in their shoes and trying to see why they are doing what they are doing. You cannot be successful all the time, of course. You got to give them the opportunities. You got to talk to them, advise them, listen to them, and most of the time help them to find their own solution, rather than we forcing our opinion, our ideas into them. This will help most of them, but not everybody, of course. At times you might even have to teach them a lesson, but of course the lesson has to be taught in such a way that will not turn out to be detrimental and will fire back.
Today's youth, I believe, come under tremendous pressure from various sources, much more than what we had gone through when we were youngsters in the school. The main pressure is the expectations of the parents, that you need to perform. Now, when we say you need to perform, just now we talked about the exam. Performance is measured in terms of marks, grade. So you need to get good grade, higher grades, better marks, for which you need to slog. And very often, marks, grade depends on how good your memory is. And that's why I said exams should be something that should be not mark oriented. Of course, marks are important, grades are important, but the marks, the grades should be awarded based on your grasp of the subject and how you can apply the knowledge to practical life. Today, more and more, success, I believe, is perceived in terms of how much money you can earn, what positions you can hold in life, how far you can go up in the social ladder. So the higher you go, the more pay you get or the more money you can make, people think you are more successful. So we need to question the whole idea of what is it when we talk about success. What do we mean by success? How do we define or understand success? And another area or source of tension is the globalization. Times are changing very fast. We are becoming more international in our outlook, in our way of life, in everything, in every aspect of our life, and we need to catch up. The generation gap is reducing very fast. I don't know where he got the data from, but he says, say for example, you must be about 12, 13 years old. Another youngster who is about 19, 20 years old is not able to understand a youngster who is 12, 13 years old. That's what he said. So a youngster of, let's say, 15 years old had a generation gap with a person who was 30, 40, 50 years old. But the generation gap is narrowing down. That's the speed at which things are progressing, things are changing. So naturally the youngsters would like to catch up with a changing world. And you need to change fast enough to keep up with that pace. And if you're not able to, that's one source of tension for people.
Things that an administrator has to do in solving the problems of the teenagers is winning the confidence, the trust of the teenager. That is the major challenge. And at times that has to be done in so many different ways. Usually you start with talking to that child first. See if you can make him see your point of view, and then at times you might even have to talk to the parents as well, because it's the parents, the school, and the child. It's three parties working together for the same common interest. And when we talk to the parents, the child might not want the parents to know about his problem. So maintaining that confidentiality, making sure that the child doesn't know that we're talking to the parents, is also very important. Because the child needs to know that his parents don't know, but at the same time, it is extremely important that the parents know the problem, so that we are all working together in the same direction to solve the problem. So what we do is first talk to the person, the individual, find out what his or her problems are. First, see if we can solve between two of us, and if that doesn't help, then we get to the parents as well. So we are all at times might even be acting, right, pretending, but somehow we will be trying to solve the problem in the same direction. And sometimes it might also be necessary that we put the parent, the child, all together and then discuss the matter together. So counseling the parents is also important for an administrator. So you will have to try all kinds of ways and until you get to the solution. But at all times we have to make sure that we don't aggravate the the child, we don't lose their confidence. We have to maintain that trust on us.
English, which is the second language to Nepalese students, is disregarded by most, and the ones who use the language are often teased and discouraged. The students don't realize that it is very important in their coming days. How have you been seeing this, and what should be done to change this scenario?
It's very, very difficult to make a child see the importance of English, especially if you have all the students coming from the same locality, if they're coming from the same ethnic group, or if they're coming from the same nationality. Because when you are living together, you want to share your feelings. And the best way to share your feeling is using the language that you are most comfortable with. So making them speak in English is very, very difficult. So the only thing that we can do is encourage them. At times, try small measures which will force them. But even though you know very well that it's not going to work, but if you trying to be or pretending to be a little strict on a certain thing, if that's going to make the child speak few sentences, a few words of English, that's definitely going to help. But if somebody really believes that applying a certain system, maybe a punishment system or encouragement or whatever, that's going to make the child speak in English all the time, I think they're wrong. It's going to be very difficult. You can only make a child really speak in English if you mix them up with children from different ethnic groups, different nationalities, whereby they have no option but to communicate with each other in English. For example, if a child from Nepal or any student from Nepal goes to America, they have no problem. When they come back after a year, they would be communicating fluently in English, because there they had no other option. But making a school go 100% English medium is almost impossible. But then teachers should still try to encourage them to speak in English, because they have seen the importance of it, they've understood the importance of it, and try to convince the children, encourage them.
English is important, yes, no doubt. That is an international link language. We need to be comfortable in English. But does that necessarily mean that we ignore or belittle our own mother tongues? I would disagree with that if the answer is yes. We need to be proud of our mother tongue, be it Nepali or Hindi or whatever be the language. Because a child understands best and grasps best in his or her mother tongue. Okay, if you are from a Nepali family, and I presume you speak in Nepali at home, and that's the language that you need to know to begin with as a child. To force a language which is foreign would be doing violence to that child. Later on, as you grow up, you could pick up more than one language. But to begin with, you need to be comfortable with a language which is spoken at home, the mother tongue, the mother's tongue, whatever be that language. I don't know about Nepal, but India, centuries ago, even before English came into the picture, the culture, the tradition, the know-how, the scientific or whatever, was, I would say, very high. The technology which the Romans used for aqueduct, or in Egypt, the ancient civilization. How did they achieve all those, whatever they achieved? Did they have English at that time? A language is simply a tool. Okay? Now, English is a tool internationally used, The more comfortable you are with that tool, the better. But you could as well use another tool, be it Spanish or French or Nepali or Hindi. So, but today, unfortunately, it has come to be a status language. If you know English and if you can speak well, you are taken to be somebody from the higher strata of society. But it doesn't have to be.
How can the leadership qualities be gained?
Have the guts to take up the challenge, come forward and do it. In the process of doing it, you might make lots of mistakes, but never look back, learn from your mistakes, don't repeat them, and keep going. Without practice, I don't think you can become a leader or learn all the leadership qualities. Of course, for that also, somebody has to give you the opportunity. You need to get the opportunity, and especially in a school, that's rare. But then opportunity, again, very often nobody will give you. You got to go and grasp it. You got to create the opportunity for yourself.
All that you can do is to use those abilities and do it. Okay? If you don't have, you can always learn it, acquire it. In either case, you need to put it to use. Now, you don't have to wait till you become a politician or a great industrialist to show your leadership qualities. In the school, say for example, you are organizing your cultural show or a sports meet, whatever. What is your role in it? If you are an organizer, can you organize your class? Say for example, a sports meet. Organizational abilities, practices can begin at your stage, starting with very ordinary, simple things in life. You want to go for a picnic. Can you exercise your leadership qualities in that situation, where you get your companions together, plan out, give each one his or her share of work, and see that it is done. So leadership qualities you can start developing already in the school where you are right now. Okay, so it's not learned in theory. It's good to know the theories, but put it into practice. And begin it now in small ways.
How would you define an ideal teacher?
We believe in ideality, but at the same time, we believe that ideals are something which cannot be achieved. And we always put ideals as something that are way beyond one's means, so that we can always keep pursuing and achieving that ideality. So, ideal teacher would be very difficult to define, because it changes from person to person. So rather than me defining an ideal teacher, I would say every individual, you will have to define your ideal teachers. Everybody has something good qualities, and there are weaknesses in everyone. So it's very difficult to define.
An ideal teacher is the one who can bring out the best in you. He would be an ideal teacher. I believe that I cannot teach anything to anyone. I can only learn. What I'm doing as a teacher is to help you learn and to bring out the best that is in you. So I would call the best teacher the one who can bring out the best from his student.
Thank you very much, Father George and Mr. Khulal, for being with us and sharing your insightful thoughts and ideas. Thank you for being with us. We look forward to your feedback. Our email address is youthtya@gmail.com. We will be back next week at the same time. Have a nice week. Namaste.